Hey there, and welcome to HisTime365. I'm so glad you're here for day 13 of our 365-day journey through the Bible. Today, we'll look at Genesis 40 through 42, and I'll walk you through what happens, what it means, and why it matters. I'll share a summary and some insights to help you see the big picture and connect with the heart of the Scripture. During your quiet time, I encourage you to read today's lesson in a Bible translation that speaks to you best. Now grab a quiet moment, take a deep breath, and let's spend a few minutes giving God His time. From dreams to destiny, Joseph's journey in Genesis 40 to 42. Have you ever felt like your dreams were slipping away, only to find that they were leading you towards something greater? In Genesis chapters 40 to 42, we follow Joseph, a man whose life is a roller coaster of highs and lows. His story teaches us about hope, trust, and the mysterious ways of God's plan. As we dive into these chapters, we find Joseph in prison, a place where most would feel abandoned and hopeless. But Joseph clings to faith. While in captivity, he meets two Egyptian officials, the chief butler and the chief baker, who have fallen out of favor with Pharaoh. They are troubled by dreams they can't understand. And Joseph, known for interpreting dreams, offers to help. Joseph's gift shines through as he listens to their dreams. The butler dreams of a vine with 3 branches that blossoms and produces grapes, which he squeezes into Pharaoh's cup. Joseph interprets this dream, telling the butler that in 3 days he will be restored to his former position. The baker, eager for good news, shares his dream about 3 white baskets on his head, filled with baked goods for Pharaoh. Joseph's interpretation is stark. The baker will also have his life come to an end in 3 days. Genesis 40:19. When the butler is released and restored, Joseph asks him to remember him and mention him to Pharaoh, hoping to be freed from prison. Yet after his release, the butler forgets about Joseph, leaving him to languish in prison for 2 more years. This part of the story reminds us that sometimes, even when we do good for others, we may feel overlooked or unappreciated in our own struggles. Time passes, and Pharaoh has his own troubling dreams. He dreams of 7 healthy cows being devoured by 7 gaunt ones, and then of 7 full ears of corn being swallowed by 7 thin ears. No one can interpret these dreams, and in his despair, the butler finally remembers Joseph. He tells Pharaoh about Joseph's gift, and Joseph is summoned from the prison. When Joseph stands before Pharaoh, he attributes his ability to interpret dreams to God. Pharaoh shares his dreams, and Joseph explains that they signify 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine. Joseph advises Pharaoh to store grain during the years of plenty to prepare for the coming famine. Impressed by Joseph's wisdom, Pharaoh elevates him to a position of great power, second only to himself. Genesis 41:40. Joseph's journey from prison to power is nothing short of miraculous. It shows us how God can turn our darkest moments into opportunities for greatness. This is not just a fairy tale, it's a reminder that our struggles can lead us to our purpose. As the years of plenty and famine unfold, Joseph's family back in Canaan faces the consequences of the famine. Jacob, their father, learns that there is grain in Egypt, and he sends his sons, except for Benjamin, to buy food. When they arrive, they don't recognize Joseph, who is now in charge. Joseph, however, recognizes them and remembers the dreams he had about his brothers bowing down to him. He tests them to see if they have changed, accusing them of being spies. In their defense, they explain their family situation and mention the youngest brother, Benjamin. Joseph's heart aches for his family, but he plays his part in God's plan, insisting they bring Benjamin back to prove their honesty. Through this testing, we see themes of forgiveness and reconciliation emerging. Joseph struggles with his emotions as he interacts with his brothers, showing us that healing and restoration often come with difficulty. Finally, as the brothers return to Canaan and bring Benjamin back to Egypt, Joseph can no longer hold back his feelings. He reveals his identity to them in a moment filled with joy and tears. "I am Joseph," he says, and the shock on their faces is palpable. He reassures them, telling them not to worry about the past, for what they meant for evil, God intended for good. Genesis 50:20. Joseph's story teaches us that even in our darkest moments, there's a bigger plan at work. Whether it's in our jobs, family dynamics, or personal struggles, we must remember that God can bring good from our trials. Think about your life. How might your current struggles be shaping you for something greater? It could be a challenge at work, pushing you to develop new skills, an issue in your family, prompting deeper connections, or even a financial setback, teaching you to rely on God. Trust that every step, every setback, and every dream, no matter how distant, has a purpose. Remember, even in the waiting and the struggles, God is preparing you for your destiny. How do you respond when you feel forgotten or overlooked, like Joseph did when the butler forgot him? What lessons can you take from Joseph's journey that apply to your own life's challenges? In moments of testing, how can you discern what God might be teaching you? How can we support one another through difficult times as Joseph eventually reconciled with his brothers? Thanks so much for joining me today for HisTime365. Remember, today's reading is Genesis 40 through 42, so be sure to spend some time with those verses during your quiet time. Tomorrow, we'll be diving into Genesis 43 through 46, so feel free to read ahead if you'd like to prepare. If you enjoyed this time together, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so that you never miss a day on this journey. I'll see you back right here tomorrow for day 14. Until then, stay encouraged, and thank you for giving God His time today.